New Thought Media Network proudly presents It's All Love, Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Mountain Time, 6 p.m. Eastern, with Laura Mock, Maria Hartman, Wendy Ann, and Lara Brzezinski. It's All Love, a space where we open into the heart, tap into the soul's deep wisdom, and enter into the energy of love, truth, presence, and joy. It's All Love, Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Mountain Time, 6 p.m. Eastern.
Hello, and welcome back to It's All Love here on New Thought Media Network. I'm your host, Lara Brzezinski, coming to you live from Arvada, Colorado. This is the space where we talk real life. If you're a mom, a working mom, a stay-at-home mom, or a mompreneur juggling all the things, you're in the right place. And if you've been with us before, you might notice that things feel a little different today. We're shifting into deeper, more honest conversations about what it really means to show up for yourself, your family, and your work. And each week, we dive into honest conversations about stress, overwhelm, purpose, joy, and what it really looks like to put yourself back on the priority list. So I will be sitting down with incredible women who are building businesses, raising families, managing homes, and doing it all in their own perfectly imperfect way. They will be sharing their stories, their challenges, their courage, and the tools that help them stay grounded, sane, and thriving. And my hope is that you leave each episode feeling supported, inspired, and a little bit more connected to yourself. All right, so let's get into today's conversation. My guest joining me today is part of one of the founders of our show, It's All Love. And today she's stepping into a little bit different of a seat where I am really interviewing her and putting her on the spotlight. So joining me today is Wendy Ann. She's a mom, a wife, an artist, a writer, and entrepreneur. And of course, just a fabulous woman. So before we dive in, Wendy, why don't you tell me a little bit about who you are and what season of life are you in right now?
Oh, well, I am from Canada originally, and I live in North Carolina now. I moved here in 2007 and brought with me two small children who were 3 and just turned 2 a month after we moved here. Both of whom are now in college, which I can't believe all that time has passed since then. So one could say that my nest is empty, but I heard somebody else describe it as just having an open door instead. So I like that a lot better because it means that the door's open and they can come back anytime. But yeah, so I've done a whole bunch of different things, including, you might hear in the background, I'm a Chihuahua mom as well. So she doesn't like anybody in front of her house, so hopefully she will stop making all that noise soon. But yeah, so I'm an artist, I'm a writer. I am lucky enough to get to work at an independent bookstore part-time and just blending together a whole bunch of little things together and this thing we like to call our lives.
That's fabulous. And barking dogs, I have one who's currently being quiet, but you know what? That is what it's part of our life these days when we're able to connect across the country. So, So what's the work that you're doing in the world right now for yourself, your business, and what do you absolutely love about it?
Well, I'm in the phase of life, I would just call it kind of a good autumn. I love autumn anyways. It's always been my favorite season. Right now, it's still autumn outside in North Carolina. And for me, it's just, I'm at the point where I've kind of been able to take a step back from the busyness of, raising children, raising daughters, raising teenagers, and they're in college. And now it's kind of this almost like a fallow time where I've had a lot of ideas I've tried a few things, and some things worked out and some things didn't. And I've kind of reinvented the same thing a couple of times. And that's all okay, because you're settling into this new version of yourself, and maybe you're going to try something and see if it works, and then it might fall flat, and okay, I'm going to go back and I'm going to reevaluate. And so I'm working on editing, and hopefully soon publishing a book of poetry. I dabble in all different
Nice.
kinds of art mediums, and I just like to help people, mentor people, getting in touch with their own creativity, or just any way where I can help myself and other people connect to something that they feel like they're blocked from, or they feel like they've stopped doing, whether it's writing, journaling, art, even going out and seeing kind of that magic in nature. It's sometimes, if you pause, I love building fairy houses with people, or going on nature walks and teaching them how to take photographs and just really be present and kind of look beneath what's right in front of you, finding that little bit of magic that's hiding underneath.
That sounds magical. So what sparked you to start doing this? I know that you used to be a teacher in schools.
Mm-hmm.
So what prompted this transition, and then and just deciding, like, I want to go help other people, spark the magic in themselves?
Yeah, that's been a long process of coming from a place where I was pushing myself. I was going about 10 years ago, 15 years ago now. My first marriage was starting to dissolve. I was going through separation, going through divorce, being a mom, single mom to two daughters, and essentially living in another country. Canada and the US are very, very similar in many ways, but when your entire family is still back in your home country, so there's a lot going on. And so I was spending my work day hours, with a lot of children, a lot of young children, and taking care of their needs. And in the education system, I was a teacher assistant, and then going home and taking care of my own children, and not taking care of myself. And so it just started to wear on me, and I got to the point where my nervous system just said, enough's enough. And I started having panic attacks, and just really starting to feel unhealthy and unwell. And so I had to take a step back from teaching, because to be a good teacher, it's just natural. You're gonna have a level of vigilance when you're watching children. And I was at a nature-based school, so we were outside all the time, and so just the level of vigilance for me was too much for my nervous system to handle. So I had to start taking steps back and reevaluate, and try and find odd jobs that maybe would give me some kind of income, but wouldn't put a lot of strain on my body and on my nerves. And so just trying to heal from that. And in so doing, it brought me back to those early childhood loves where, I would just sit and read for hours and hours. And, when I was supposed to be in bed asleep, and I would find a little night light and hold my book up so that I could see it and keep reading. And then start doing art classes again, and teaching other people how to connect to their own creativity. And it just kind of built slowly, but it was at the time, it was a very uncomfortable thing to go through, with all the panic attacks, and not doing the thing that I'd gone to school for, and that I thought I was supposed to be doing, the should. I should be able to handle being a teacher. I should be able to do this, but I couldn't. My body was knocking me back and kept saying, no, you can't, no, you can't. And so the gift in that was eventually slowing down enough, reevaluating, and asking my nervous system, what do we feel like doing? What do we feel comfortable doing? What can we do? And just building it one piece at a time from there.
Nice. So, what makes what you do and the way you do it unique? What's your magic that you sprinkle in?
I love anything to do with nature, anything to do with curiosity, um, anything to do with bringing the inquisitiveness or the curiosity, that inner child, back into
Mm,
play. And we 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 keep thinking that we have to grow up and leave behind aspects of ourselves. Even on the spiritual journey, we go through this notion that we have to release all these old things and release it and get over it or be done with it or release it. And I found that actually you can never fully release something because it's the reality of what has happened and what has been. And to go back instead and maybe embrace it or embody it a little bit more. And yes, this is a part of me, but it doesn't define me. Um, so I think going back in and working with people and helping them embody those parts of themselves that have been told need to be hidden, or that they feel like need to be hidden in order to be an outward facing person who looks like they have all their stuff together. It's okay to bring those pieces of you along, and then through things like writing and art, you get to invite them to play too. And maybe somewhere along the way there's some kind of critical voice that told you the sun couldn't be purple, and so you would always make it yellow, and it would always be in the top corner, and it would have 12 rays around it. But then you go outside one day and the sun's setting, and oh wait, it's orange today, or oh, there's the clouds pink. It's okay to grab a different color and just be curious about what you see, and how is it that I can connect with it through writing or through paint or whatever the medium is. So
and I love that. We were talking earlier about releasing versus embracing. And for years, I have been on a quest to heal, to release, to let go. And only recently has it come into my awareness that no, it's about embracing all aspects of you, celebrating all aspects of you. I can't remember the gentleman's name, but he talked about whenever he had to make a big decision, that he would gather his counsel of all the different ages of himself that had made a significant difference, and just checked in. And the first time I heard that, I went, I've never thought of that before, like checking in with my 5-year-old, my 10-year-old, my 15-year-old, my 25-year-old. Like, hey, is everybody on board with this?
right.
It's taken a little while to, like, what does that look like? And then even what you just said about the rules, right? Not even realizing how many things that we do are based on what we were taught, and we just keep doing the things without recognizing, oh wait, I can paint this totally upside down. I can do a purple sun if I want to, right? So I had the opportunity to work with Wendy on doing some writing prompts and just allowing, and it was fascinating with the right guidance, the right coaching, the right prompting, what came out of me. And one of Wendy's techniques is, after you write something, to read it out loud. I'd never done that before. And it was neat because I just quickly read through it, and she guided me to say, just pause, take a breath after it. Now read it more slowly. And it brought life to it. So, that was fascinating, Wendy. Just when you walked me through that, all of a sudden I went, I just made a poem. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was good too.
And it was empowering. It was really empowering because I never really considered myself a writer. I never really considered that I liked poetry, and you just opened up and helped me to dissolve some beliefs that I had that I really wasn't aware of because they weren't in my awareness.
Yeah.
So what is it that you absolutely love to do that you could do all day long that you lose track of time in?
Mm. Well, definitely walking in the woods. If I lived
Mhm.
with a meadow or a little patch of woods easily accessible to me, um, I would be missing for a good portion of every day because I would just be out in it all the time. For now, I live in suburbia, and so I will go for walks, and I always love trying to find the wild, even within everything, the sameness, whether it's the dandelion and the crack of the sidewalk, or um, just nature's everywhere, even in these little replicated suburbs that we live in. There's always a little. I always try to find a little something wild whenever I go. So if I had a little patch of meadow or something, I would just be out there all the time. Like a child, you come in
Well,
when the street lights come on, and or if I was hungry or something. But yeah, that's where I'd probably be.
well, tell me about the name of your website and your
Mm.
Instagram handle. Where did those come from?
The Sacred and Wild. Yes, it came about when I have a kind of a home art studio space in my home, and it's what used to be the formal living room, the formal dining room space, and we're not formal people, and so I've turned it into kind of an art studio, and then I host some art classes. And I realized one day as I was sitting at my table and I was working on editing one of the poems, and I kept hitting my elbow on the wall. And I looked up and I realized that I had moved my little portion, my table and chair that I would work at with my computer, and it was all the way in the corner of the room, and I had left all the space for other people. I had four tables set up for the workshops that I host, which only happen about every few months right now. And I shoved myself into a little corner to the point where I was bumping into the walls. And I realized, and so I realized, and I was journaling over a couple of days about that. And I realized that I was playing my own life small and safe in sort of the middle. And so what I ended up doing is I rearranged my whole space and I made more space for myself. And I moved everything that I had set up for other people and I condensed it. I put some things that didn't need to be out in totes in the garage, and I made more space for myself. And out of that time, I started a lot of my poetry. I started finally getting it off my phone or out of my journals and really started editing, and telling myself, okay, I'm going to put this together. I'm going to do a book of poetry. And I started thinking more about sort of my outward facing name of who I was and how do I kind of encompass everything about who I am and what I do. And I wrote a poem a little while ago, and it was about being on a bridge and kind of imagining myself on this bridge and where am I if I'm playing life small. I'm just kind of going back and forth on this same little
Mhm.
safe part of the bridge, and I'm not going to the ends of it. I'm not going to both sides. So I started journaling. What are the edges of myself, like the edges of who I am? If I wasn't going to play it safe and small, what two words would I use to describe myself? And I knew wild was one of them because I always like to go and find the little wild bits, and not wild as in snarling and feral and not that kind of wild, but wild
Right.
as in not hemmed in and not controlled. And then the sacred came out because I see the sacred in nature. I see the sacred in creativity. um, I I spend a lot of time inside my thoughts, and I I just enjoy seeing, how things connect on a bigger picture. Even as a child, I would study people. I would just study their mannerisms and their behaviors, and just being in awe of how people are, and being in awe of how nature worked, and how, you know how it all moves together. And so seeing that sacred part, I feel like those two words, once I hit on them, I said, yes, I can travel back and forth between those two edges of myself, and I can still be in the middle when I need to, but I don't stay there. I don't stay in the middle, and the safe and the small anymore, or I try not to. Try not to spend too much
I
time
love
there.
it. Yeah. Well, Wendy said her website is currently under construction. It's coming soon, sacredandwell.com, but her Instagram is alive and well, sacredandwell.life. And Wendy, I know that you have products for sale on an Etsy shop. So tell us about those products that you have right now. I can hear there's more coming, like your poetry book, but what do you have right now?
Yes, poetry book. So I teach some writing classes, and if you've seen our show before, the other ladies, we the Star School. So I do some Zoom writing classes, and I started doing these journals. I actually have a couple. They're just in front of me because I'm getting ready to send some out. But I take composition books, and I just go crazy and go creative with them, and each one is kind of different and unique. And so that's what's on my Etsy shop right now, are some hand painted composition books. But hopefully soon I'll have a book of poetry, maybe some of my art, and who knows, it's just going to be whatever I'm making in the moment and making too much of.
Oh, that's fabulous. All right. So if they want to learn about your writing classes, is it listed on the website, thestarschool.com?
Yeah, I have a monthly sacred writing circle, which is on the Vistar School site. And then I will be having some other journaling and writing classes on my own website as well. Sort of the sacred writing class on Vistar is kind of like a taster. And then the ones on my website will be a bit of a deeper dive, maybe a 4 to 6 week kind of journey, just to really get grounded in the method, and see what can come up, and whether it's poetry or memoir or fiction, who knows what's going to come up in each individual. But the ones on my website will be a bit of a deeper dive into the magic of writing and creativity.
Awesome. And before we move off of Wendy's business and what lights her up into the mom role, if you do want to reach out and connect with Wendy, her email is wendya@thestarschool.com. So, not that we're done talking about what you do and how you show up in the world, but let's talk about the real life juggling act. You're a partner, a mom, you're the house manager. Sounds like you've fortunately outgrown being the chauffeur of everyone, now that the girls are out on their own. But how do you navigate? How did you navigate when your girls were teenagers and there was so much going on?
Yeah, it's where I'm living is in a different town than where their school was, because I remarried, and the home we moved to was not in the same bus zone, and so there was a lot of chauffeuring at the time. We were really lucky we got to carpool with another family who lives in our neighborhood and whose children also went to the same school. But there was a lot of driving and picking up, and track practices, karate. So there's a lot of time in the car. I think a lot of parents go through that phase where you know they're not with you all the time, but when they are with you, they they have their own schedules. And then I was working a few different jobs at the time as well. So it's just kind of trying to coordinate everything. Really lucky to have a supportive partner who was just happy to however he could help. So he also was a co-taxi driver for many of those activities. But yeah, it's I'm really lucky comparatively. I always think back to being in Canada and the hockey mom situation, spending all your time at arenas and tournaments and practices and things. So I kind of avoided that. My daughters didn't play a lot of sports. So I guess in some way I lucked out in the taxi driver scenario, but yeah, I don't, hockey moms, soccer moms, all the sport moms out there. That's a whole other level of busyness. I can't imagine.
Right. So what was one thing that you had to learn to either let go of or delegate or just be okay with so you didn't lose your mind?
Well, one of the things that, especially on nights when the girls would come back, so they would go to their dads for some of the time. And then when the night that they would come back to me, there was always a bit of a reset, not in terms of their behavior or anything, but it's two different houses and slightly different rules. And I always thought it was really important for them to have some time with the transitions, because if you've worked with kids, had kids, transition times are really important. You have to ready people. And this is something that, by the way, that we don't do for ourselves as adults. We don't allow ourselves transition time between the two things. We just go. But for my children, transition times, and for me to keep myself, also with the ease of the transition from not having them to having them. So the big thing when they would come back, we would do breakfast for dinner. That was like the easy thing. You can do scrambled eggs and toast and sweet potato fries or something, and make it really easy. Everybody gets in their jammies and we watch TV and eat a dinner that probably took maybe 15 minutes to throw together. But breakfast for dinner was kind of a standby. Taking little things like that, and something that made it easy for me, but turning it into something kind of special. Maybe
Right.
a little bit of a celebration of, okay, we're back together, and I'm happy to see you, and I'm tired, and not lying to my kids, pretending everything was okay. I would tell them, I'm tired today. It was a long day, and so we're gonna just get cozy and have breakfast for dinner. And I think being honest with myself and with them, it makes it a lot easier. If age appropriate with kids as they're growing older.
Right.
When I was having panic attacks, I didn't tell them at the time because they were still really young when I started having them. But if I was having a day where there was maybe the chance of one happening, and I would just let them know. I said, sometimes I've overexerted myself. I got overtired. I might just have to lie down on the floor and put my feet up for a few minutes, and just so that they wouldn't be afraid. But as they got a little older, I would be honest with them, and I would tell them about, this is how the nervous system works, and this is how my nervous system worked. And probably it was genetic, because I think, my mother, my grandmother, it might have been something that they dealt with, but they never talked about it. And so I was honest with them about it, to the point where one of my daughters did have a panic attack, and she called me later that day and let me know that it had happened, and she knew what to do. She said, I talked to the people around me, and I just, that somebody got me some water, and I just sat on the floor, and I knew it was going to pass because I knew what it was. And I was just like, wow, look at that. So that's another way to make things easy, is to just be open and communicate what the, as best as you can, what is actually the truth. You don't have to push through it because people inherently want to help, but people don't know how to
Right.
help if you don't actually give guidelines or let people know this is what's going on in my life. So
Right.
breakfast for dinner
That's
and
fabulous.
being open.
Awesome. So when you start to feel yourself feeling stressed, stretched too thin, you're starting, what is another go-to reset that you use that is something that like someone else might be able to say, oh, that might work for me, aside from, sitting on the floor because I'm in a panic attack. What can I do
Right.
before that happens?
Hopefully there's a lot of things that you can do before you get to that point. Conscious breathing. And I think I've talked about this before on our podcast, is taking a deep breath. And then when you feel like you've taken a deep breath, try and take one more sip of air. And so you breathe deep, and then one more, and then taking that extra sip, you have to sigh to let it out. And that's a cue to your body to let things settle, to rest a little bit. So any kind of conscious breathing like that, slowing your breath down, finding something cold, ice cube, cold water, doing something. These are all, I'm trying to think of everything that doesn't cost anything, and that you might have
Right.
at hand. So putting something
Why?
cold on your skin.
And why do you say that, ice cube or putting something cold on your skin? How does that help?
It sends a different signal to your nervous system, and so that, I mean, there's been studies done. You might see people who will the sort of the Nordic countries, they'll go from the hot tub and then into the snow and then back again, or people are cold plunging. Something about that kind of, it shocks the nervous system a little bit, and it helps your vagus nerve. It helps strengthen it. It helps kind of give you more resilience. Again, there's a lot of science behind why that helps, but it also, it's just a different sensation, so that you're not focusing on whatever unpleasant is going on with your body. If you're sitting there, oh, my chest hurts and I'm, my heart's racing and I'm feeling all tight, and then you put an ice cube, say, on your wrist or something, and now I'm thinking about how cold this is, and now, okay, it's really cold. I might move it on the back of my neck, and maybe I might put it on my forehead or something, and it just kind of disrupts that, the racing thoughts, because the thoughts are the part that takes stress and turns it over into something more. So being aware of my thoughts when I'm starting to scan for, the uh-ohs, or how bad is this going to get, or this isn't going very well, and what am I going to do about this? If that starts happening, then bare feet in the grass, stare at the sun, taking some deep breaths, and then thinking about my routine and what am I doing in the mornings and the evenings, and how can I start and finish my day to make sure that there's some gentleness in it.
I really like the whole ice cube, because what I heard you saying is it's shifting your focus. Mm-hmm. And the stress and the panic attacks usually happen, speaking for myself, when I just start going down a mental spiral and get stressed out about, everything I have to do, or I forgot to do this, or what if, and that is like, that's really cool. And like you said, it just stops it. And it brings your attention back to the present moment. Yeah. Right. And you are all about presence and being in the present with yourself.
Yes.
So I had another quick question. Do you have any, something else you said before I jump off is I love the expression, look it.
Rescue boy.
Nice. The question where you had said, how am I supporting myself, gently in the morning, the evening? I love to ask myself, how am I setting myself up for success for bed, for tomorrow morning, right?
Yeah.
To have a great day, all of those things. I love that question. How am I setting myself up for success in a gentle way that, like, oh, you know what? I can just put dishes away tonight, or I can start the dishwasher tonight, or, just one action. Or, you know what? If I just got off my computer a half an hour earlier, gave myself downtime,
Yeah.
things like that. But I want to ask you, is there anything specific that you do as a daily or weekly practice that really helps you show up of the best version of you, that's connected, that's aligned, where you really are feeling like you're giving your best self, you're being your best self?
Yes. And I know that this is what this is, because when I don't do it is when I really start slipping into I try not to think of them as negative habits, because what these things are when I'm not showing up as my best self, they're not bad things. But if I am stressed, I might watch like some TV shows on my iPad, a little too many, maybe a little too many. I might instead of doing other things like reading or painting, or you know doing something else, I might slip into the scrolling on the phone, or those kinds of things. And even though we could be critical on those sorts of things, they still, I feel like they're there for my awareness. If I find myself, in the morning, my non-negotiable is I'm a tea granny. I have to have my mug of tea in the morning, a couple mugs of tea. But I'll get in a habit where maybe I'm just watching something random on my iPad, and that's for me, that's the slope when I have to become aware. Okay, am I in some kind of avoidance? Because those are my avoidance techniques, is to maybe zone out, numb out with something familiar. Like I don't know how many times I could watch Downton Abbey, or I don't know how many times I could watch this thing time and time again. But if I find myself relying on those things to soothe me, as far as something to calm my nervous system down, then it's like, okay, you're relying on something, and it's okay, but there are other things that maybe are more of a helper than a hider. um, those other habits, I always think of, I'm just kind of hiding myself away, and it's not, they're not helping me, they're not hurting me. There's definitely harmful habits out there, but they're not hurting me, but they're definitely not helping me. And so for me, my favorite thing to do in the morning is to just have a cup of tea and journal a little bit. And then when I'm done my journaling, maybe pick up a book and read a little bit. And now I've engaged my creativity. I've maybe even gotten in touch with myself a little bit with journaling, like maybe something's coming up, and writing about it gets it out of my head, so then I'm not swirling in these same thoughts all day. Or maybe I've processed it by writing it down, and kind of answered a question that I didn't even know I was asking. And then reading engages kind of that curious part of my brain, or the creative part of me. And if those two things, at least one of those two things, happen to start my day, then the rest of it just kind of flows from that.
Thanks. So what has been your biggest challenge lately? That thing that you're handling, you don't want to talk about, but it's real, if you're comfortable sharing.
Yeah, I'm a very open book. I don't I'm not ashamed of, who I've been at any points in my life. And I think that when we are open about our struggles, it allows people to connect with our stories, with each other, and then you're not feeling like you're alone in something. So for me, and we touched on this when we were talking earlier, but it's that mindset of not enough, of not being enough, not doing enough, not having enough financial stability, going through, the whole panic attacks, and I ended up with some health challenges, some autoimmune, just undiagnosed, but still very real challenges that for a long time made memory, attention, difficult, energy, body pains, all kinds of things. So I found it really hard to maintain a full-time job, and then it just get harder and more difficult to maintain other kinds of work. And so I've struggled over the last I don't know how long, let's say 6 or 7 years, with trying to find some kind of employment that could give some semblance of an income, and allow me to feel like I was contributing and somewhat independent, without overtaxing my system, because I've always been a sensitive person, but then with the panic attacks and the autoimmune things, it's hard. It's a challenge. And even I was working at a busy retail last year at Christmas time, and it was a bookstore chain, and I love books, and I've worked in bookstores many times, and I found at the end of some of those shifts, I was just so tired I couldn't keep my eyes open, and the store was so big, and I was really hard on myself. Like, it felt like this is something I should do. Like, it's not hard work. Why can't I do that? And so that's when I would get really hard on myself, and that's been a big challenge, is how to create a life that supports me as a sensitive person with various challenges. How do I find something that can do that? And so now I seem to have found a really good balance. I'm working part-time at an adorable independent bookstore near here, and then that leaves me with enough time and energy to come home and maybe make a healthy meal and take the dog out for a little walk, and then be a little bit creative, and maybe start pecking away at editing some of that poetry, and hopefully self-publishing that and getting that together. But yeah, it's been a challenge, the financial and employment balancing act. It's been hard, but it's been important for me to find myself and factor myself in to thinking about what works, trying. And I think I've talked about this earlier, trying something and it didn't work out. I've tried a few different jobs over the last few years, and being okay with saying, that didn't work out, and I tried, but being honest with whoever had hired me, and being honest with them, this is who I am and this is what I have to offer, and I'm really creative, and I'm a team person, I'm a rule follower. Like, I'm not I won't just sit around and in the downtime, I'm somebody who I will, if nothing else, I will clean a shelf or something, but also being honest with them and saying, I have some autoimmune challenges, and there are days where I might flare up, and I don't know when that is. And if I ever call in sick, I really am sick. I'm not just, off having, lunch with the ladies or something. So it's been even though on the surface it looks like, a lot has been taken away from me as far as my vitality and my health, but what it's given me is the beautiful thing of checking in with myself, and I'm not just going around life doing everything for everybody else like I was before. I check in with myself first, and how does this make me feel? And that's, in the end, that's actually been a real gift, because I have enough for me and for everybody in my sphere.
Right. Right. I think that's the number one challenge as moms is in the beginning when they were so little, right? They were completely reliant on us. And so we made them the number one. And over time, even though our kids started to gain their own independence and capabilities, speaking for myself, it took a while to learn, like, wait a second, I have to put me first. I love how you said earlier, um, taking up space for yourself just in your living room, and recognizing we have to give ourselves permission to take up space for ourselves and really give ourselves permission to put ourselves first and nurture and listen. And wow, I'm doing too much. I need to back off. Like, and the dance, right? Giving yourself permission to let go of a job, like, this isn't supporting, this isn't working, and not to be hard on yourself. Right. So powerful, all that you've been learning and growing through. And I know, speaking from, having worked with you, that comes through, whether you're teaching, in an art class where somebody's being expressive and getting to go underneath and giving themselves permission, right, to color out the lines or to color with different colors, or it's in the writing, is to open up and say, you are the most important person in your life. And what is your heart saying? What is your soul saying? And, you give people the space to invite that. So I wanted to ask you if you could tell another overwhelmed, stressed out, anxious mompreneur, or, mom who's working a job, a message from your heart. What would you want her to hear today?
Oh,
Hmm.
just to love yourself, to be present with how amazing you are, to just take 5 minutes and feel the weight of your own body in the seat, and arrive in this room and just be in awe of yourself. And don't attach success to who you are. Don't attach, don't worry about the to-do list, the clients or the success or the abundance or any of that. It will come, but it's going to come from you being who you are. And just sit there every once in a while when you forget. Just sit there and soak it in and feel the outsides of your skin. Just feel you sitting there, and everything that is inside of you is just, it's beautiful. It's a gift. And don't be afraid to be vulnerable and let people see it.
Awesome. I think if every person on this planet came from the space of, I am a gift. I am a gift that life has given to itself, and I am here to live life and love myself first, and I love that, be in awe of yourself. We're amazing.
We are.
Just the fact that we don't have to think about breathing. We don't have to think about beating our heart, and our body knows what to do with the food that we put in. Like, it's amazing. And I feel like we're all so busy focusing on the outside world, trying to do it right, that we forget those simple things that you just shared. Be present in your body, feel your skin, be present wherever you are all day long. Be present in yourself. That's beautiful. So what would be a trick, a tool, or a practice that you could hand to the mom that's listening as a lifeline, because you know it really has helped you so much and it's been your lifeline, what would you say is your number one?
For me, it's my pen. It's my pen. Whether you get yourself into a practice of journaling every morning with your cup of coffee, or at bed at night. I started reading a book, and one of the prompts, which is a great one if you are somebody who doesn't have a lot of time, and you don't have a lot of time to write, you can just make a list of what's something you saw in the last 24 hours. And just what did you see in the last 24 hours? And then you can think about, oh, okay, what was amazing in the last 24 hours. It doesn't even have to be amazing. And then you're casting back in those little moments where you're present. Okay, I read a chapter in my book this morning, and just make a little list of something in the last 24 hours. And that's all you really need to do. Just those little moments of presence. And if you have more time, then journal a little bit more. Find a prompt that's going to get you to ask yourself questions, or how do I feel about this? Or maybe all of a sudden a poem's tumbling out. Who knows? But for me, it's definitely my pen. And then if it runs out of ink, I'll just get another one.
Right. I love it. And there's so much research around the value of getting things out, getting them on paper, and then you can look at them and like, oh, wait. For me at night, and I don't necessarily write this, but before I go to bed at night, I ask myself, what was the best part of your day today? And so the same thing where you're looking back over your day and reliving like, oh, that was good. But what was the best part? Right. So I go to bed with this wonderful feeling because I'm focusing on what worked, what went well, and, what filled me up. So
I used to do
beautiful.
that with my daughters when they got off the school bus every day.
Yeah.
Sometimes asking kids those, how was your day? Oh, fine. You're not going to get them to get into the question. So I just asked them, what was your favorite part of today? And then they would tell me. And that just kind of, I got to hear the something good about every day that they had. I wish I'd kept a little journal of that, but
right.
Cute
In
to
hindsight.
look over now, but yeah, maybe I was.
That is a great tip for moms. Yeah. To help your kiddos shift their focus to, what went well today? What lit me up? What was fun? And get them to open up. I love that.
As you said, and asking yourself that every night. Yeah.
Right.
I'm going to do that tonight.
Beautiful.
Well, actually,
awesome.
This
we're going to wrap.
Be the best part of my day. So getting to spend time with Laura.
Oh, good.
The best part of my day.
I know, this was really fun. So wrapping up, I just wanted to remind people that Wendy's website, sacredandwild.com, is coming. You can find out what she's up to and see her work on her Instagram, sacredandwild.life. You can also shop for her gorgeous journals at her Etsy shop, Wendy Ann Studios. If you want to contact her, email at wendya@vistaraschool.com. And so thanks so much for joining. We are broadcasting here on New Thought Media Network, which is a global broadcast network of positive music, media, entertainment, right? Messages to serve and support you wherever you are in your life. And here we're hoping that you as a mom or a woman in business found something for yourself to carry forward to help you in your life. And if any of our programming here at New Thought Media Network is supporting you, please visit our website, ntmedia.org/donate. If you want to learn about what I do, Rate and Joy Coaching, where I support mompreneurs to thrive in their lives and their business, then send me an email. I would love to connect with you. And join us again next week at 4 o'clock Mountain Time, 6 o'clock Eastern Time. And before we hop off, Wendy, any last words, suggestions, tips, tools, insight, magic that you would like to share?
I think the key word there is magic. Is go outside, find something that catches your eye, and just let your curiosity mingle with it a little bit and see what magic unfolds.
I love it. I love the expression to be in the magic and the miracles of life, whether you call it life, universe, nature, but be present and see what magic is unfolding in your life. All right. Well, thanks so much for joining, Wendy. Thanks everyone for watching. Until next week, go out and be in the magic.
On behalf of everyone at New Thought Media Network, thank you for being a member of our virtual family. Your financial contributions help share the New Thought message with people from around the world. Please visit and contribute at www.ntmedia.org/donate. New Thought Media Network, come be you. And please like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, peace and blessings.